Folks, you joined us in mid-conversation. I'm talking to Lev Parnas. Lev Parnas is the editor of Lev Remembers. He also was a former Trump fixer. He unfortunately knows that environment really well, still have sources within MAGA. And we were just talking really briefly about how people haven't come to the realization is that we are generationally cooked. That doesn't mean you give up. That doesn't mean you don't fight, but the damage is done both internally and externally. And within 7 months, Donald Trump and his allies have done such immense damage to U.S. reputation, U.S. security, the U.S. economy. Just wait a few months, folks. Unfortunately, it seems like there's a recession. The hollowing out of our agency of any people who have fidelity or loyalty to the Constitution, the FBI and law enforcement being used as his personal private army, his Gestapo, the fact that he's normalized sending the military and National Guard on American streets against the American people, against the nation's capital. All the stuff, by the way, that if you've been following me and Lev when we do our chats, which is now like once every week or once every 2 weeks, we warned about. And this isn't the I told you so. We get no joy from I told you so, right? This is just us trying our best to help you all connect the dots because what's common to us isn't common to you. And so I invited Lev. I'm on vacation right now in another hotel. I'm just visiting my family. So I promise I'm not a hostage. I'm blinking twice. I'm safe. But right now, what we're witnessing are two things. As Donald Trump is meeting Putin, and they're going to have their head to head in friggin' Alaska, U.S. soil, Donald Trump has unleashed, if you will, the National Guard on the nation's capital, federalized the police force on the basis of a completely manufactured nonsense allegation by Big Balls. This is the world we're living in. I can't believe it. Big Balls, a 19-year-old Doge incel who claims he was attacked by like black teenagers and carjacked. And last week we said watch this space, and lo and behold, they used that to federalize the DC police and essentially normalize what they've already been doing in LA. Folks, every single step, if you've been paying attention, every single step is a step towards authoritarianism. And my fear is that this is a step towards martial law. And then you have Putin, who we all know Putin, and you see Donald Trump promoting Russian talking points just yesterday, a few days ago, blaming Ukraine for being occupied. So I invited Lev because he has sources. Unfortunately, with Putin, he has sources with Netanyahu. He has sources with Donald Trump, the world's worst. And the framing of today is the Trump-Putin power grab and what's next. So with that framing and setup, I yield the floor to you, Lev.
Yeah, thank you, Waj. And I mean, thank you for doing what you're doing. And independent journalism is so important, even while on vacation with the breaking news, we got to do what we have to do. Let's just take a step back, past take us back 4 days ago. Where were we and where we are right now? I mean, we were at Thursday, right before all of this broke. The first thing we were talking about is one of the things we were talking about on this channel is about the Vance, dinners and the breakup and how we broke it and how, they were trying to do it, this whole Epstein thing. Dan Bongino was heating up. The media is starting to pick up. Simultaneously, the deadline for Russia was coming. Friday, he was supposed to, come down with the hammer. And what happened? All of a sudden, Witkoff is sent out there. And before Witkoff could even leave the office, and this is what, we've been writing about, talking about, so you guys could validate, but the media is not validating it. Before Witkoff even left the Kremlin, he called Donald Trump and basically told him, hey, boss, this is the plan. I mean, Putin basically turned around to him, and this was, Putin's a master manipulator, but a master, listen, he's a KGB agent. He had, and it's not just Putin. See, another thing you guys have to understand is when we say Putin, it's a whole machine. The KGB, it's like our CIA. It's like, the Mossad. It's like any intelligence service, but it's, the things that they will do or to the degree that they will go to might be beyond other morales or other countries that might not go to. So the KGB is a very seriously, it never died. It just got transferred, became the FSB, but that the old guard, the inner circle, the regime that's been working, that this is not Donald Trump one day event or everything this is happening. They know the buttons, they know the players, including Witkoff, including this whole thing you're hearing about that Witkoff said that it's one plan, then there was another plan, then that's another plan, because it's not about any plan. The plan was Putin needed to time. because he's right now, and I reported on this in my Substack earlier, that within the next 72 hours, I'm
Mm,
hearing that he's preparing a major assault on Russia. I mean, on
mm,
Ukraine.
mm,
Now, I'm trying to get to figure out the strategy, and I'm making my calls. And as soon as we do, we'll break it. But is he planning to do it while they're in Alaska? Is he planning to do it right after? Because to after, like, when they come out and say, Zelensky didn't accept something or whatever, and as a result, and make that the excuse for Trump to walk away, because this is all staged. They already have the game plan set up. That's why when you hear Caroline Levitt or Donald Trump come out and say, "I'm going to feel him out." Really? Really? If anybody wants to believe that Donald Trump is flying into Alaska to sit down with Vladimir Putin on one-on-one to feel, listen, I've been part of these meetings. I've been around all of this. These meetings don't go like that. These meetings,
mm.
Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are not buddies. They don't talk like me and Waj are talking. They're gonna sit down there, and there's gonna be a lot of ass kissing, a lot of pleasantries, a lot of, basically, I mean, they're already talking about some of the shit that they're going to talk about is opening up airline travel back between America and Russia. They're talking about business. And one of the things nobody's reporting on, but Donald Trump yesterday, because I know him so well, couldn't keep it in his pants, and he said it was Nord Stream 2, folks. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people say, yeah, but Donald Trump destroyed Nord Stream 2. He's the one. That's okay. That was back in 2016, 17, 18, whatever. That was in his first administration. This administration, there's a totally different game plan about. That's called global control. It's called, and how do you control it? Through energy. Oil,
Mm.
gas, energy is, and that is, where Russia comes in. This is where Ukraine is like that thorn in their side. There's a lot more behind the scenes. And as I say always, it's all about the money, the power. And this is what's being played right now in Alaska. Trump is worried about what he wants to do right now is distract the media from the Epstein situation, the Dan Bongino situation, and what me and Wash keep sounding the alarm every single day is the Project 2025 election reform, which is why we have right now troops in DC, because this is all a prelude to what
Yep.
it's part of also getting you used to. Not only are they testing out how this all works, but it also gets you used to, because we as a public, just think about it. If I would have told you 7 months ago that there would be a National Guard in Los Angeles and nobody would do nothing, you would say never. We would have a revolt. People would be up in arms. But today, now we have in Washington D.C. People are getting the what's the word? The centralized, not the, they're not, it's not that big of a deal. The things
Normalized. It's no
normal. He's not.
authoritarianism is normalized every day.
He's normalizing, exactly, where you're, so when, if something happens and he all of a sudden he comes out and says right before the elections in 2026, and he says, wait a second, we have an invasion from Venezuela, and because of that I'm now sending in the ICE and National Guard and everything like that, and we're calling off the elections right now. But I mean, people are going to be like, well, we get, so it's crazy. What I'm hearing is
No, no,
happening.
I mean that's what Lev and I and others have been saying for several weeks, a couple of months, and I know most people who've been watching us still they believe us. Some people don't because they still suffer from a failure of imagination. Because many Americans, Lev, say, "Well, if this is America, it can't happen here, folks. It's happening. The coup was successful. He got elected again. He pardoned the violent insurrectionists. He has the Supreme Court. They're all right-wing hacks. That's the backstop. If anything doesn't work out in Congress, he has Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has given him like what 15 out of 15, 100% batting average rulings for his emergency dockets. Right, that's how they go through the back door and through the emergency docket. Donald Trump has gone, the right wing judges to pretty much give him what he wants. Right, you have Stephen Miller, folks. You have Stephen Miller and Russell Vought. Stephen Miller, as we talked about last time, the chief advisor to Donald Trump, his most loyal advisor, all of this anti immigration stuff, it's Stephen Miller. He's a true believer, dyed in the wool, fighter. He will go down in the blaze for this, right? White supremacist. It does not matter to him what happens. He wants to make America white again by any violent means necessary. And then you have Russell Vought, white Christian nationalist, who is one of the architects of Project 2025. Just listing some of these examples just from the last week, folks, just to connect the dots. For those who might say, Waj, Lev, whoa, 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 a step too far. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, openly reshares a CNN interview with the Christchurch folks who openly say they want to repeal the 19th Amendment. They believe in a white Christian nationalist state, and they believe women are subordinate to their men. Pete Hegseth openly shared it, openly promoted it, still hasn't been asked about it, right? You had the head of BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, a commissioner, very well respected, fired by Donald Trump. Why? Because the job data came out, pure numbers done by, the best statistics that downgraded the number of jobs that were added because the economy is slowing down, makes Donald Trump look bad. Stock market closed it had its worst closing since 2020 when he was president, the pandemic, and now he's replaced her with a hack who hates the BLS, EJ Antoni, who's openly now saying, yeah, we're going to suspend the monthly job reports. Why? Because they make Donald Trump look bad. Where's this happen? Authoritarianism. Don't believe the evidence of your eyes or in your ears. Just believe me. Believe me, your dear daddy, your king, your leader, right?
Yep.
Then you have the purging of the FBI. The FBI, as of a couple of days ago, is warning that they're purging us. They're removing, faithful servants and agents and replacing them with hacks. You have Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, with zero law enforcement experience, who promoted these conspiracy theories. And before the election, on Steve Bannon's podcast, said, I have a hit list, a list with
Yeah.
Democrats and Republicans, right? Enemies list, right? Then you have him replacing the head of the IRS, the person that he installed because there was pushback on giving private American data to ICE. Why do they want our private information? Because Stephen Miller wants to unleash the Gestapo, the ICE, and go after anyone and everyone, who might be like an immigrant or employing immigrants or working with immigrants and so forth. And you also have ICE with a budget now of $180 billion, thanks to the beautiful bill, and we're going to have 10,000 ICE agents, and they're already unleashed, like Lev said, against LA. We've normalized it. Now, based off of Big Balls, a 19-year-old Doge incel, and his lie, Donald Trump used that as a pretext, much like, the Nazis used the pretext, right? And authoritarian regimes use pretext of crime this is our Reichstag fire. This is how dumb we are, is that Big Balls is our Reichstag fire. My God. So now this is all normalized. The economy is sinking. Moody's has downgraded our credit rating, folks, right? And he's meeting Putin. Putin. Let's just meet Putin, a war criminal. Why not? And Putin, folks, and Trump had this, Lev, can you talk about this? Because I mentioned this before, and it's a fact that's just stuck in my head. And CNN was the only, I think, corporate media outlet that actually translated this piece of Russian news from a couple of months ago. Can you tell everyone what Russia openly said a couple of months ago about Putin and Trump's plan?
I mean, I don't know exactly which part you're
The
talking about.
division, the division, how Trump will get Canada and Greenland, and
Because because part of also they haven't been reporting on what I've been talking about is the energy plan, but yeah, the plan basically divide the world. I mean, the countries, and we've been talking about for a very long time actually. One of the things that why Trump is concentrated talking about Canada, Panama, Mexico, Greenland, and all of that, talking about how it would be beautiful if you erase that line and it would all be all that like a real estate deal. And that's why also he doesn't care really about what Putin is doing, if he takes over Ukraine, Poland, the Baltics, because in his world, as long as, he gets bigger, he's still more powerful. And the way he looks at this world is really divided by the strong, and the strong are, you got Putin, Kim Jong-un, Xi himself, others, smaller guys like Viktor Orban and others. And that's it. He doesn't consider anybody, any of our allies. He doesn't consider any of them strong or any even possible, to do so. One of their plans is to divide the world. I mean, where Trump gets Canada, Trump gets Greenland, Trump gets the Panama Canal, and Russia gets Poland, Ukraine, and the Baltics. But Russia wouldn't stop there because, see, Russia's playing Trump watch. See, this is the whole thing where Trump is confused him and Witkoff. See, they're dangling the carrot. They're promising him big money, probably a lot of the crypto money that's going into it that we do. Because, see, we talk about, I always say follow the money, but things that you don't hear. We hear about these people that put money in the crypto stuff. They're going to his dinners. but you don't hear about the money that's going in that people are not going to his dinners. And people have this Russian dark money oligarchy have been using cryptocurrency and for a long time to be able to. And now with Trump opening that avenue to be able to receive, there's a lot of different ways that a lot of different things are happening behind the scenes. And, they're promising through Witkoff, because Witkoff was already sold. Witkoff is already living in La La Land. He's already counting the money and thinking, because he's a, businessman. He's a real estate guy. He's not a diplomat. He's not going there. And there's a big difference. People say, well, he's smart. But the difference between a diplomat and a businessman is when you're going into that meeting, when you're a diplomat, you're going there with the incentive of diplomacy of how to cure a situation, a problem. When you're a businessman, you're very easily influenced by some sort of bribe or influence, or because you're looking to make a buck, you're looking to make money. And if you could justify it the way Trump and Witkoff and they justify it, as long as they make America the money. So if America profits, it's okay that they could make money. Everybody could steal because they made America. America came out like ahead in their mind and the way they're doing it. So yeah, I mean the plan
And
that
and, and you want to see the breaking news that just came out as you were talking? And if you think we're all Russia is suspected to be behind breach of federal court filing system. Just broke on New York Times. Federal officials are scrambling to assess the damage and address flaws in a sprawling, heavily used computer system long known to have vulnerabilities. Let me read the first paragraph. Investors have uncovered evidence that Russia is at least in part responsible for a recent hack of the computer system that manages federal court documents, including highly sensitive records that might contain information that could reveal sources and people charged with national security crimes, according to several people briefed on the breach. It is not clear what entity is responsible, whether an arm of Russian intelligence might be behind the intrusion, or if other countries were also involved, with some of the people familiar with the matter describing as a years-long effort to infiltrate the system. Some of the searches include mid-level criminal cases in NYC and several other jurisdictions, with some cases involving people with Russian and Eastern European surnames. The disclosure comes as Trump is expected to meet Putin in Alaska on Friday, where Trump is planning to discuss his push to end the war in Ukraine. Let's.
It doesn't surprise me, but I'll tell you, Trump doesn't care about it. See, like, this is the whole crazy part, because for Trump, you know what his justification for that is? That they were doing it to Biden. They did it to Biden. They were doing it before Trump came. This is not a Trump thing. This was a Biden thing, but that just he has to now deal with. But now he's gonna tell Vlad, stop it. Don't do it anymore, and he's not gonna do it. I mean, this is how insane and sick he is. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, and you might think to yourself, "Hey, Lev, you're really you're making this shit up." Folks, I'm telling you, I've not only been in those meetings and know Donald Trump very well, and not only that, but I have people and sources that are very close around that whole world. And I could tell you before, the way they even laugh at the way Donald Trump, I mean, like the fact that the meeting that he had in the Oval was with Azerbaijan and Armenia. I can't tell you how many calls I got from them saying they were pissing in their pants watching these two guys, play Trump like a fiddle, who fall over each other by complimenting him with this Nobel Peace. Hey, where do we sign? We're ready to sign right now. Let's hand them the Nobel Peace Prize right here. Meanwhile, watch, nobody even talks about, which I'm going to be reporting on soon, the crackdown and what Russia, the attacks, has been doing the past 3 days after this supposed peace deal on Azerbaijani oil and attacks and more. I mean, there's so much more shit behind the scenes that are going on. That what Trump is doing, his main goal. That what I'm hearing from everybody, he literally is on a mission with this Nobel Peace Prize until October 10th. It's band-aids all over the place. Middle East. Band-Aid. Get it done. Just keep it. I made peace. Congo. Right now he's on a mission till October 10th, and it's crazy because October 10th happens to be the 6th-year anniversary of the day I was arrested. On the flight is when his what's it called, Nobel Peace Prize, and that's what he's after. That's the sick part, Wash. And he's doing all of these things, willing to make cut deals that all of this is going to start exploding. I mean,
It's all I love the Band-Aid analogy because it's like the Titanic has leaks, the Titanic is sinking, and Donald Trump's like, just put a Band-Aid on it and say this is the world's beautiful, best ship, the greatest ship of all time. And you're like, sir, I think we hit an iceberg and we're sinking. No, we're not. I won't sink. It's tell everyone. And then the whole world is like, I think we're sinking. Is like, you said we're sinking, I'm gonna fire you. Hey, you tell the world we're not sinking. We're not sinking. Wonderful. This is what's happening, and you're seeing him put the band-aid on the economy. It's not working. You're seeing him trying to put the band-aid on the trade wars. Trade wars a failure. Apple's Tim Cook, like you said, Tim Apple, as he calls him, because he's an old, doddering, deranged man. Yesterday he said Tim Apple just promoted $100 billion investment in America. There was no contract. Did you see a contract, Lev? I didn't see a contract. I saw Tim Cook just bribe an old man with a 24-karat gold bust. But all of a sudden, yeah, we'll invest $100 billion. And as this is happening, there's an authoritarian takeover. As this is happening, our enemies are laughing at us, literally infiltrating America because they realize they have Trump, a patsy, and a stooge who won't do anything. I also want to remind people that Donald Trump, in order to, folks, because I know there's a lot, so we're just trying to connect the dots for folks to keep you tethered. To try to distract from the Epstein scandal, I'll ask you some other disgusting piece of news that just came out today. In order to distract from the Epstein scandal, he had Tulsi Gabbard come out and concoct a bullshit conspiracy involving Obama. And what was that conspiracy? Dealing with Russia, that everything was a hoax. No, folks, there was a bipartisan Senate report co-authored by, wait for it, Donald Trump's own Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, that said that Russia did interfere in the 2016 election to try to help Trump. Putin, when asked about it publicly, admitted it, laughed and admitted it, right? So he's trying to distract. And right now, I think maybe, before we get to this horrific news about Ghislaine Maxwell, uh, my take on this, Lev, is we still have some patriots left in law enforcement, and maybe this got leaked on purpose right before the meeting to reveal to America, meaning someone in the FBI leaked this on purpose to say, hey, we're vulnerable. We're being attacked. Russia is a bad actor. Putin's a bad faith actor, and to amp up some pressure on Trump. That's the only justification to see where, or what do you think happened?
No, I mean, and maybe me shaking my head. I mean, yes, I believe that there are people, and I agree with you. That's why we have whistleblowers. That's why we have people out there risking their life, going out there doing it, and they probably believe and they're trying to do whatever they can to save our democracy by.
Even your dogs don't like what's happening. The dogs are like, "There's no
Yeah,
bueno
well,
for
guys,
American
yeah,
democracy."
live Substack, yeah, but yeah, the fact that they're going out there and doing it at a time like this to put pressure to make to show that Russia's a bad actor. They're hoping that maybe Trump something will click. But at the end of the day, you have to understand who Donald Trump is. You have to understand who Steve Witkoff is. You have to understand who Vladimir Putin and the actors Kirill Dmitriev and the way all of this done. This is all choreographed. This is
Yeah.
all played out. This is all what you're seeing, what you're hearing is already after the fact. It's like when I used to be on Wall Street, and I remember people, telling me when you hear them go on CNBC and say buy, that's when you should be selling already. You know what I'm saying to you? That's already after whoever had to buy bought. And I say it in a joking way, but in a kind of way where when Donald Trump and his people are already coming out to you and telling you this is what we're gonna do, this is what is because certain things already are taking place and happening. You have to
Okay.
keep
All right.
and the most important thing I say is you have to keep your eye on the ball. Who is Donald Trump? What's important to him? He's transactional. For him, it's very important financial and power. So what does he get out of it? He's not going whatever he does. You could take a look his track record for all his life is even when he's in the Oval, everything has to be transactional, benefit either make it seem for the country, for himself, for whatever. What is the transaction? Except for one person, Vladimir Putin.
That's
For
right.
some reason, if you take a look at the history, he always bows down, gives Vladimir Putin on the outskirts. You would think everything that he would want, and never gets anything in return. Like, he always gives him time. He always, says, "I'm going to
Never
give this."
criticizes him, always defers to him, always meek, always humble.
Tells him he's a great, smart leader. Even now, just think about it. Yesterday in the Oval Office, had the sickening. Just think about, he's already gotten to a point. That's why I said he's already there. He's in dictator mode because he came out and said, he said this word which was really crazy. He said, "I spoke to this great man, Viktor Orban." Now I want to stop right there, folks. Viktor Orban is a monster. Viktor Orban is a dictator. He's not there at Putin yet because he doesn't have a country that size. But the way he is a junior Putin and Putin's mouthpiece and extension when it comes to Hungary and everything. Viktor Orban has been the mediator, and I've been reporting on for the past 5 years while Trump has been out of office. He's been flying back to forth to Mar-a-Lago, back to Putin, between Jared Kushner, all of these to keep this relationship going. So he comes out and praises Viktor Orban, this dictator, this monster, and says that he's a very smart man. And you know what he said to me? I asked him a question. Trump says, this is the president of the United States. He says, before he's going to meet with Putin, before he supposedly to do a peace deal. But this is what he says yesterday. Listen very carefully. He says that I asked Viktor Orban if Ukraine could beat Russia. And he laughed at me, said, "Are you crazy? They don't have a chance." Just think about that. He's giving you the prelude, telling you like there's no peace. Russia doesn't. I mean, Ukraine doesn't have a chance. I'm going there. He wants to paint the picture that if Russia wanted to, that they would take over Ukraine tomorrow, but they're not doing it because of him. And he's like being the savior, saying that, hey, if I could save you 20% or 30% of your country, it's better than giving up 100%. So this is
He's
the
already said that.
mentality.
He's already telegraphed that already, right? Like, okay, and then he also promoted the bullshit lie that Ukraine started this war. No, Russia started this war. And he's like, okay, you're not going to win anyway. Just let it go, whatever. Why? Russia is occupying eastern Ukraine. Russia's the one that actually started this war. Russia's the one that's invading the country. Anybody who's occupied resists their occupation. And what I've seen in the past several years with Ukrainians is no matter what happens at the end, every single person till the end will fight to the death. They're not going to yield to Russia. But Donald Trump is throwing Ukraine under the bus, promoting Russian lies, Russian talking points, and a Russian spin on the narrative in front of our very eyes, folks. Just trust the evidence of your ears and your eyes. He's blaming Ukraine for being occupied and invaded by Russia. So this peace deal is going to be exactly what Lev said. Kind of like, okay, I've talked about it. Ukraine, just relax. Let Russia take over eastern Ukraine. It's fine. And stop, being annoying. And Zelensky's a bad guy. I can't trust him. Zelensky, why can't they talk? And folks, it's already happened in the beginning of the administration. It was telegraphed, as Lev said. Remember that U.S. representatives and Russian representatives met in Saudi Arabia without Ukraine. Without Ukraine. Remember that? And then when Zelensky visited, he was mocked and berated by J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. It's all out in the open. And there is something about the Band-Aid that I want to get back to, right? Because I do feel that everyone who can extract what they can from Donald Trump, they're coming in hot right now because they realize this man is old, he's fragile, he's losing it. America's slowly turning against him. So now you're seeing, okay, Putin is pouncing on him. You're seeing the oligarchy pounce on him. You're seeing the crypto bros pounce on him. But they're just trying to extract. And then you're seeing Rupert Murdoch go in a little bit of a stabby motion when it comes to Epstein. And speaking about Epstein and the Band-Aid that's not working, we just got news, folks. We told you this was going to happen. Ghislaine Maxwell, who is a pedophile, Ghislaine Maxwell, who not only recruited and stalked and preyed upon these girls, groomed them, but and also molested these girls with Jeffrey Epstein. The Farmer sisters and Virginia Giuffre said that along with Epstein, Maxwell molested them. And some of these girls said that, in fact, Maxwell might be even worse than Epstein because we trusted her. And she was the one who led us to the wolves. That woman was transferred from Florida to Texas. Still, no one knows why. There was no reason for her to be transferred. She was just at the start, if you will, of her 20-year sentence. We still don't know who in the Bureau of Prisons authorized this very, very strange move, because that move never is allowed for someone who just started their sentence and also someone who has a sex offender status, who waived her status. And then we found out today that she's now liable. She's now she can now be potentially released for work. She's now open for a potential work release, Lev. Now, I have said before, and I want your take on this, that no matter how many band-aids he puts on the Epstein file, the Epstein scandal, the Epstein documents, call it what you will, this is the one thing that he cannot lie to the base about. Am I wrong?
No, you're 100% right, and it's not going away. Even though he's been able to with this whole Putin thing kill it for the past week, it's not going away. First of all, because we're not going to let it go away because we're going to keep for the voices of the people, the victims, and other. We're going to make sure that as independent journalists, whistleblowers, we're going to keep the pressure on, just like what we're doing today, and we're going to talk about this crazy thing that's happening with Epstein that he's trying to bury. So no, it's not going to go away. Plus, you already have plenty of congressmen on both sides and senators that are waiting, just waiting for Johnson to come back from this recess where they already have, bills that are
Where
ready
they
to
met
go there.
Netanyahu in Jerusalem, where they went and met Netanyahu in Jerusalem, the war criminal. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that. No, when did that
Yeah,
happen?
The Republicans during the recess, which Johnson called, and the reason why Johnson called the recess was so he could delay the vote on the bipartisan
Oh, and then,
vote.
oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And then they went to me, right? Exactly. Yeah.
Last week they went to go visit Danielle because they were so busy. So they instead of doing their job and releasing the Epstein documents or voting on it, these Republicans went to Jerusalem and took a photo with Danielle. I'm not making this shit
Well,
up,
well,
folks.
well,
But
just think of the crazy part. I mean, Netanyahu is a considered a war criminal, right?
yep,
So is Vladimir Putin. They're both considered war criminals,
yep.
and they're both not allowed in most places in the world, but they're both allowed in the United States. And I wrote about it because it what ties them together is the axis, which is Donald Trump. And it's crazy to see what we're watching play out in front of our eyes right now. But with the Maxwell thing, like I said, it's not good. The Epstein is not going to die out. There's a lot that is more to come out. I'm actually, before we go to the Epstein thing, I'm through an intermediary that reached out to me. I don't know if it's factual, but I'm still doing due diligence. But what I was told that Katie Johnson, the girl, the 13-year-old that filed lawsuit against Trump and what's his name, Epstein, that's
Yeah.
been in hiding all this time, that might want to come out and we might give her a platform to speak. She's just very worried, scared, she needs legal, there's a lot of moving parts to it, but I am working on that behind the scenes, and I would love to get her to come out and tell the world exactly because the one thing I know about Donald Trump, and I listened to Katie Johnson's interview one time that she gave, and the things that she said, and the thing, as horrific as they were, and knowing Donald Trump for the fact that he's never gone after her, he's never tried to shut that down, he's never tried to take that off, and I know it gives it a lot of credibility in my world besides her own words, because I know Donald Trump's technique, and when he knows something is extremely hurtful or true, he doesn't attack it. He just tries to change the cycle and deflect and let it die out and go away, because he knows that if he ever attacks it, he magnifies it and gives it so much life that all the truth comes out. And he did that with me also, by the way, Waj. That's how I know, certain things that what Donald does, because Donald Trump's not scared to attack anybody or go
Yep.
after anybody. And if,
Unless it's Putin. Unless it's
unless
Putin.
it's Putin, unless it's Putin or the truth, correct? Absolutely, yeah. But now getting back to Epstein, what Waj was talking about is she's now been transferred to this federal camp, and I could talk about because I served time in one of these federal camps. I served time also in some of the worst prison and segregated housing unit, and I also ended up in Otisville. It's not as plush as where Maxwell is, but I could tell you the fact, a pedophile convicted sexual criminal serving 20 years to life that is now able to walk out and go on work release. I can't explain to you how big of how big of a thing that is for a prisoner, because part of incarceration is being locked up, being, that's part of your punishment, and part, especially when your crime is so horrific. The privilege of being able to leave usually goes to either, white collar criminals, people that are not, or that have served maybe 15 years out of their 20-year sentence and showed remorse, showed good behavior, showed such, and they're on their way out to get back into society. So they'll bring him down to a camp like that where they'll give him, and even then it's difficult to get to that type, because it's literally like, what Epstein had, maybe not to such a degree, but it's that horrific, being able to leave, go work. Yes, it's not that freedom. She's not going to go to Starbucks and hang out. She's going to be shackled and go, but it's still, I mean, I can't explain to you the day and light, especially for people, thank God, that's never been in the prison system and have no idea the difference between being even in a type of federal facility where she belongs to the type of facility where she is now, from the type of privileges and, the normal life that she's living, even though, yeah, she's incarcerated, but compared to where she was to compared to where she is I can't even explain to you. There's no justification. There never will be. And yeah, we don't know who that actual person signed the paperwork was. We don't know who that, but we know it was Todd Blanche. It was because of, the deal that they're making. It's because of what she's preparing to come out, and the meaning. This is all being done and given her a way to show her, so she does now what she's supposed to. It's that mob mentality. It's that quid pro quo. It's Donald
It,
Trump's
it
MO.
we know what we know, which is that Ghislaine Maxwell met with Todd Blanche, who's Donald Trump's personal attorney and now is a deputy attorney general, for 2 days. Right after those 2 days, she was magically transferred, which is unheard of. A sweetheart deal. The only other person who got a sweetheart deal, the only pedophile who got such a sweetheart deal was Jeffrey Epstein. And who gave him that sweetheart deal? Alex Acosta in 2008 when he was U.S. attorney in Florida. And guess who later became the labor secretary for Donald Trump? Alex Acosta. And to this day, no one knows why. Epstein, who was a convicted pedophile, got a sweetheart deal where he was able to stay out of jail for 6 out of the 7 days of the week and then self-report. And now Ghislaine Maxwell gets moved magically, no one knows why, to this minimum security camp in Texas, and now she has been cleared for work release. And Michael Wolff, when I was talking to him, he dropped this nugget. This was last week, where Ghislaine Maxwell, her team is the one that leaked the book that Rupert Murdoch and Wall Street Journal first did the bombshell on, right?
Well,
Uh,
my sources are good. I
yeah,
had the same thing.
Michael, he
Yeah,
said it,
that's
and
good.
then Michael Wolff said it also. So he said it was actually Ghislaine Maxwell. It was Ghislaine Maxwell's team that leaked that information, which is why Wall Street Journal doubled down and said, "Nope, you can do whatever you want. You could threaten us, you can sue us. We feel good about this." And most likely, folks, she has all the goods. She has much more. And what Lev and I said, the quid pro quo is going to be this: I saw Donald Trump party with Epstein. I saw nothing wrong. What? No, not Donald Trump, but do you know who actually did dirty things? Bill Clinton. And who else? What other Democrat do you want me to say? Sure, Bill Richardson. And who else? Bill Gates. Yes. So you're seeing it in real time. Final 2 minutes, only because I have to run to another meeting. I'm on vacation, folks. I thank Lev for joining on the last second. I mean, we kind of we dealt with the breaking news as it was coming out. Lev, final word to you. I think it's going to get much worse before he gets better. I think he's a desperate man. As he gets desperate, the analogy I've given, he's a rabid rat backed into a corner. He's willing to chew through everything and everyone. He's willing to burn down everything. I think he's I think he's preparing for martial law. And I think people need to be prepared. But I give it to you because right now what's trending is Ghislaine Maxwell. No matter how hard he tried to distract, it's back in the news. Where do you see Trump going in the next month?
Oh, I mean, I agree with you 100%. He's that rat that's cornered right now, and his number one thing that he's going to be doing, he's going to be pushing, and we're going to see more of is election reform. Part of, because it's not him, it's people like Russell Vought and Stephen Miller, and now Susie Wiles that part of the team. And these people are smarter. They might be nasty and mean and you, but they're not stupid, and they know how, and they're manipulating. That's why they're using. Even if you take a look at some of the laws that he's finding that are hundreds of 100-year-old law that he finds to be able to use. Donald Trump is not sitting there finding these ways, and I just watch it when he says, "I found that law." Like, don't quote me. Donald Trump's not doing that. It's being prepared. Donald Trump is just the showman out there wanting to, all he cares about, Waj, is the Nobel Peace Prize, and and right now that's what's on his mind. Just like a few months ago was the birthday parade. Now it's this Nobel Peace Prize. After that, but with that said, the most dangerous part, why we need to be right now more alerted, more, how you want to say it, make our voices as loud as possible, is when Congress comes back in session. Because the only way we could stop him from doing some of the things that he's going to try to do with this election reform, with change, having Pam Bondi change certain DOJ policies and stop early voting, and start ICE intimidating. I mean, because what you're seeing right now is just like warm up, like before the game, like preseason, like
Yep.
before preseason, they're getting ready for which is coming in like the next 6, 7, 8, 9 months. And what we can do is, because what Wash said is 100% right. The Epstein files, Maxwell, this is his kryptonite, and we've been saying it. So when the Congress comes back, we need to keep pushing. We need to make sure they will, because the division is there, and all we need is maybe another one or two Republican congressmen or women to jump on this side, and there we go, folks. We
And
can now start doing something.
Thomas Massey is on it. He has not
Yeah,
forgotten, and Massey
and
and Khan
you got
together had a
Bacon,
bipartisan.
yeah,
Yep.
you got now Bacon, Massey. You got a bunch out there right now this has started. So I'm saying to you, we didn't need that many to begin with.
Folks, thank you all for joining. This has been the Left Hook, and I'm with Lev Parnas of Lev Remembers. Folks, it's independent journalism. I have no paywalls. Everything is for free. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to me and Lev. If you have a few bucks, become a paid subscriber. It goes a long way. We don't bend the knee to anyone or any political party. We say the truth. And folks, we're dealing with a fascist regime, and we don't hold our punches. And unfortunately, our predictions have come true. This is the world's worst I told you so. All we try to do is connect the dots, and we believe a population should be informed, which is why the information on the Left Hook is all free. If you can become a paid subscriber, please do. I have to jump off. I'm on vacation. Lev, thanks for taking the time to jump on. There's about 1,500 people. We've been speaking about 40 minutes. Don't worry, it'll be up on my Substack and Lev's Substack in about 30 minutes. Strongly recommend listening to what Lev said and connecting the dots. Until next time, be kind, be empathetic, and please, oh please don't be a fascist. Take care.
Take care, Wash. Take care, guys.